Welcome back. In this video I'm going to be showing you the continuation of the yard office build, and I'm going to be starting on painting and weathering. I'm going to be using the acrylic paints I got from the other day, so let's get back into it. The big day has come today and we're starting to paint the building. First of all, I'm going to put on an undercoat pretty much in real life, which is going to be a grey colour, and then obviously I'll start putting the colour on. It's going to be cream on the sides, on the boards, and then the door is going to be chocolate, and also the barge boards are going to be chocolate. So let's get on with it. So first up are the paints, and I've got some Winsor & Newton acrylics which I bought from my local art supplies shop. White and black to start off with for the grey. Then we need a plate, some water to mix, and the most important thing, brushes. It's almost like going back to art class at school. It's such a long time since I've done any of this. So we'll start off with the white. A bit more water. Thankfully I don't have to paint the window frame, because that's was always white. Right, so next up is going to be the roof, where I'm going to do a grey, so a little bit more black I think we need. I'll wait and see how this comes out before I try anything else. Try and get it roughly how I want it. Again, this is all experimental. And as you can see, I managed to use the paint to cover up the join in the ridge tiles, so you can't actually see that it's there. And now, what we want to try and achieve is a little bit of difference in the tiles. Brush on a bit of the lighter grey in places, without adding too much of the black in. And as we've got really only the front edge of it that's going to be visible to the viewer, it doesn't really matter so much about the back edge. Okay, and that is the roof done. But for the moment I'll let that dry off, and then we'll try doing the walls. So I think we can gauge from the white that we put out that we're going to need nowhere near as much. Like that. Take the white from here, and then just keep adding until we get to a colour that seems about right. I think what we're going to do is just try it out on the top of the door, give me an idea. I think that may well do. So now that we've got the undercoat on, we can easily apply the cream. And by the looks of it, that's the first coat, and probably the only coat I'm going to stick on, although I'll see when it's dried properly what it looks like. But I think that's the sides and the roof done, and then the next part is to do the door and the barge boards. And finally we're going to mix the chocolate brown up, so that's going to be a blue, a red and a yellow. I'm going to mix a very, very small amount. So we've got a cadmium red, which I think is probably going to be a better bet. So That's better. But for the moment we'll paint the door. So I'll let that dry. Okay, so we'll let that dry. Okay, so getting back to it, I think I've got to the bottom of the video problems now, so I worked out why my iPhone seems to be cutting up rough, and I'm going to give the door another coat, I think. Well, I quite like it with the paleness on the panels, as if implying that the paint has kind of been bleached out by the sun. So I might just leave it as is. So it's the next day, and what I've got left to do is basically paint the chimney stack, which is obviously going to be brick red, and add the chimney and then glue the door in. We'll start off with red and white. Again, we only need a tiny amount of this, so right, so again I'm probably using the wrong brush for such a small space. I'll get the bulk of it on the back wall. So the next thing is to glue the door in. I don't know what's going to show this better off. We'll try both angles. And then last but not least, we're going to do the chimney. So again, I'm just going to use some standard plain paper, and I'm going to roll it around one of the brushes, and I want to make this 8mm, a height of about 2 foot. Again, I haven't actually looked any of this up, so I'm just kind of guessing from a rough idea. And I'm kind of thinking if I make it long enough and roll it around the paintbrush, then I should get a little bit kind of thicker. Bothered about that. Looking at the brush size. Of course, these are tapered as well, which doesn't really help, but I think it's going to be better than trying to hand roll it. I don't want to make it too large. I would guess that's probably getting to about the right size. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of glue. Try not to get too much on. I should be able to take it off, and then also press it down a bit. And that should give me a flat edge for the top, and also something to glue it to as well. So let's see what that looks like, whether it's too big or not. It does look a bit too big, in fact, actually. Okay, so first attempt, that's the idea. So I'm going to use the thinner brush, same process, and so now we can see how's that compare. Still looks a little bit big, but I think I'll go along with that. So I can now paint it, and I'm going to keep it similar to coming from a thrifty family, waste not, want not. Also get the right one. Okay. We've got most of it. I'll just need to wait for the paint to dry out first before I can do the top lip. Also, don't need to do the underside because it's going to be glued down. Okay. Not particularly scientific. Yep, that's way too bright. However, once it's stuck down, I suppose one could change it. So we'll try and maybe introduce a little bit more white and just see. But I don't want to go around messing too much. Implying there might be some bird mess on there. Right, okay, that is the completion of the first go at this build for the layout behind me, and it's just a rough mock-up of what I want, but it gives me definitely a good idea of the size and the scale. So I think I'm going to give it a try to see what it looks like. Okay, so it's going to sit on the layout at some point, but that's giving an idea of what it might look like. I'm going to try a bit more of a close-up. In a video coming up, I'm going to be showing you the next iteration in the series build and the techniques and materials that I'm going to use. I'm also going to do a recap on the build I've just done, taking what worked and what didn't work onto the next project. If you've enjoyed this video and would like to see more in the series build, click on one of the videos on screen now, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.